What's up, everyone? My name is Chris Hludzik, and this is Chris Hludzik Explains. It's been a while since I did one of these videos, and honestly, I should have done this one sooner than I did, but better late than never, as they say. So, this past summer, in June of 2025, I put out another release, and it was an EP, and it's called Songs for Auden, and it is a musical tribute to selections from a series of poems that W.H. Auden wrote called The 12 Songs. So I basically took these poems and I put them to music. I've been a fan of W.H. Auden's work for quite some time. I was first exposed to him through either one of two things happened, because they both happened around the same time. It was I either heard a song called Roman Wall Blues by Alex Harvey, who's a Scottish music legend, and Roman Wall Blues was a poem by W.H. Auden that Alex had put to music. I had either heard that, or it was a poem that I read in literature class that year called Oh, What Is That Sound by W.H. Auden. But either way, I just kind of fell in love with the guy's work. I just really thought it was unique. I really thought he had a very unique way of looking at things. There was always a sense of yearning in his work, and I always really liked it. And when I started playing music, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I took some of his poems and put them to music, kind of the same way that Alex Harvey did with the Roman Wall Blues, except I had the idea of doing it for all 12 of the 12 songs, not just, one like he did. So in 2005, June 15th, 2005 to be exact, and I know that because on the demo tape that I did, that I recorded, that was the date. It was June 15th, 2005, a day after my 21st birthday. I was feeling particularly inspired, and I decided to start recording some sketches of ideas that I had for these songs based on Auden's poems. The problem I ran into was that a lot of these songs didn't really work out as well as I thought they were going to. A lot of the poems didn't really lend themselves as well to songs as they could have. Some of them don't rhyme, some of them go on for a really long time, some of them don't really have the same kind of a rhythm that a conventional song would, but some of them did. So I then decided to kind of focus my attention on those ones that were a little easier to work into actual songs. Now, Auden obviously wasn't a musician, he was a poet. He wrote words, so obviously he didn't have any idea about, how words fit into verses and choruses and things like that. He didn't have any notion of that. He didn't have any notion of, timing or rhythm, etc. And maybe he did, who knows, but just a lot of the stuff didn't quite work as well as I thought it would. So that was 2005. After 2005, I kind of started getting involved in other things, other projects, bands. I was working at the studio, I was working freelance with a lot of bands, and the Auden project just kind of got put on the back burner. But I never forgot about it. I would always keep coming back to it in my mind every couple of years. Like, I still got to do that Auden project. I've still got to do that. And just didn't happen for a while. And then about 2024, it was shortly after I had finished my previous EP, The Sky's Limit, which was an original EP, that I decided, maybe now is time to tackle the Auden project. So I went back, I listened to my demos that I did back in 2005, and I decided, well, they needed some reworking, obviously. I had become somewhat of a better musician in that time. And also I had developed some more ideas for other songs. And so I did a new set of demos. And then based on those, I started recording what would become this release right here. And it took about a year to do, and I literally got done with the project in June of 2025, and I was able to release it just in time for the 20th anniversary of when I first did demos and first started working on the project, which was June 15th, 2025, 20 years to the day that I started really working on it. So it's kind of cool to be able to do that. Now, obviously, these are not my lyrics, but it is my music. It's all original music with Auden's words put on top of it. And the mood of a lot of Auden stuff is kind of, like I said, there's a sense of yearning, but there's also a sense of, just trying to understand life and love and things like that. And I guess that's kind of what drew me to his poetry, because he's always questioning. And I think that's what a lot of good music does. A lot of good lyrics do that. They just kind of question things a lot. And so I think that's what drew me to Auden's work. And because of that, I think I was able to come up with some really cool music for it. But there's 5 songs on it, and they're all the poems, were named, song whatever, song 1, song 2, song 3, song 4, whatever. But some of them did have like titles to them, kind of, or they kind of became known to have titles just based on, a line in the poem or something like that. But I do musical versions of this song 7. I do a musical version of song 6, which was called Autumn Song, which I also did back in 2006 with my first side project, The Latter Day, with my good friend Brian Brophy. We did a version of it, and I did a completely new version of it in a different key, similar arrangement. I also do a version of song 8, which is known as At Last the Secret Is Out. I do a version of song 9, which is called Funeral Blues, which is probably best known for appearing in the movie, what's that movie with Hugh Grant? Something Weddings and a Funeral. I forget the name of it. Forgive me. But that was probably, one of the first times Auden's stuff was really kind of in pop culture in a while after he had passed. And that kind of led to a resurgence of his work in the 90s. And then the last song on here is, ironically, the last song in the series of poems, and it's called Song 12, and it's called Oh, Tell Me the Truth About Love. And, some of these songs are kind of a bit more kind of rocking, some of them were a bit more, subdued, darker. It's all acoustic on here. There's some electric guitar, but it's mostly acoustic guitar. There's some keyboards on here, obviously vocals that I do, lead and backing vocals, bass guitar, some percussion here and there. So it is a subdued but yet still fleshed out release, and it came out really well. I engineered it, mixed it, and mastered it myself. Did the artwork, and the artwork is a photograph of Auden from I believe 1940, and I just thought it was a really, really good picture of him to use. And I'm really proud of this. This one was a labor of love for me. This wasn't something that I did for, any kind of radio play or recognition or any kind of financial gain or anything. In fact, I put this out on the internet for free just because I wanted people to hear it. Currently, you can listen to it on my SoundCloud page, and you can also listen to it right here on YouTube. Just search for Chris Hludzik Songs for Auden, and you'll find it. It's 15 minutes long, straight and to the point. But again, I think it turned out really cool, and if you appreciate poetry, you should appreciate this. If you've heard my music before and you like it, then this should be right up your alley. But if you want to check it out, it's called Songs for Auden by Chris Hludzik, and I'd appreciate it if you gave it a listen. Thank you again for watching. I really appreciate everyone who's followed me thus far, and listen to my music. Again, if you want to hear my music, you can go to my SoundCloud page, or you can go to my Bandcamp page. Again, just search Chris Hludzik on those websites and you should be able to find it. And thank you again for watching. This has been Chris Hludzik Explains, and we'll see you next time.